Next to the stage, we will hear from Craig Gearing, CEO and founder of COE's longtime partner, Mastery Prep.
Good evening, y'all. Good evening. I want to say just Mastery Prep is honored to be able to sponsor tonight's event. I can't think of anyone more worthy of celebration than Maureen Hoyler. And I also want to thank the COE staff and board and volunteers for pulling together a wonderful event tonight. Thank you so much. College access and success is a team sport. And I was kind of thinking, you remember back in the schoolyard where there'd be you'd somehow have the two captains and the mob of snotty-nosed elementary school kids. This is before masking. And the captains, they're trying to figure out, what is going to make a great team? What are the traits of a great team member? They're looking for strong, fast, what else? They're looking for these traits. Of which I had none, obviously. I was thinking about what makes a tremendous member of this team. What would you look for? What would you pick? Well, one is you'd need someone who's just brilliant, right? Because this is complicated. This is policy. This is politics. You need someone who's dedicated because Rome wasn't built in a day, right? You have to stick this out for a long time to build something of worth. You look for someone with heart, with dedication, with vision, right? And who would be the very first draft pick? Who would be the first person we want on our team? Not Maureen. This is a trick question. She'd already be the captain, okay? So, but I just want to say, an echo of what everything that we've heard today. Maureen, you're an inspiration to me. You're an inspiration to my team, to the entire college access and success community. And we're just so grateful for everything that you've done. So thank you. And here's to our captain.
It's my honor to ask to the podium COE President Emeritus, Dr. Arnold Mitchum.
Well, it's hard to follow those great remarks, but let me try. I'm honored to speak this evening, but very saddened by this moment. Maureen and I have worked together for over 50 years. She wrote Marquette's first TRIO grant, and when the university hesitated to submit the proposal, she stormed over to the president's office and demanded that they send it to Washington. That was in 1970. This grant was the predicate for my involvement in TRIO politics. And with the critical assistance of 5 people who happen to be in this room tonight, Oscar Hernandez, Mary Bell Greg Howard, Jerry Lewis, Harold Payne, and Monte Perez, we went to work and achieved 3 fundamental things. 1, we increased the TRIO appropriation, which hadn't been increased in over 3 years. We broke the paralysis. 2, we developed and got a national consensus among our colleagues and TRIO practitioners as to what is TRIO. What is the eligibility for TRIO? What are the functions for TRIO? All of that was incorporated into H.R. 5192, which later became the Education Amendments of 1980. But it was Maureen who took our rhetoric, our debates, our arguments, and translated our language and feelings and convictions into legislative language, which we gave to Congressman Ford, who then won the battle in the House, won the battle in the Senate, which again created the Education Amendments of 1980, which gave our community, which gave you the concept of first-generation students, which protected your programs with prior experience. Maureen wrote that into that legislation. At that point, she became TRIO's lawyer. And 33 years later, she became COE's president. What did she do? What did she do as COE president? Most importantly, she firmed up the bipartisan coalition in Congress that had been initiated by Henry Bonilla, former Republican congressman from San Antonio, Texas, who's in the room. Henry, where are you? Thank you for being here. You're always here. He's an alumnus of Project Stay on Zamora Street, a talent search program in San Antonio, Texas. And he gave back. That move resulted in moving TRIO from $800 million when I retired to over $1 billion tonight. With over 800,000 students in the pipeline right now. But TRIO's pipeline is just part of the story, because also tonight we have over 6 million Americans who have bachelor's degrees who participated in one of our programs. Think about that. So it might be fair to say that TRIO is the wellspring of the access and success movement in American higher education. In large part because of you, Maureen. Because of your diligence and your commitment. Let me close by giving back to you a gift you gave me many years ago. A particular Irish toast. And this is a paraphrase. At this juncture in your life, may the road rise to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. And until we meet again, may God hold you in the hollow of his hand. Thank you for what you gave us, Maureen.
Not sure what this thing is right here. So now I'd like to invite the past COE board chair and director of college programs at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, Kyle Ethabaugh, to come to the podium and make a special presentation.
Good evening, everyone. How is everyone doing? Great. You know, it's intimidating singing at that table. You know, my first COE conference was in the year 2000, and that's 23 years ago. I remember seeing these individuals who are legends in this field. And I didn't know what I was doing here. I didn't know what TRIO was. I knew stuff, but I didn't know the potential that you could have being in this field and working with these great individuals on whose backs we all stand. And so one thing I did want to mention, I went and checked in earlier today. I got my registration. I've always put the TRIO alumni badge very first. Everything else comes secondary. And I wanted to mention that because it's how I've always felt. Without TRIO, I would not have been what I have come to know myself to be. And I did that before I even knew who I was. So TRIO alumni, I guess now I'm one of the 6 million club. So I'm very grateful to have been a part of these programs. I was a part of Upward Bound and then Student Support Services, never having realized what went into that. As a student, you're required to go to tutoring. You're required to do this. And I was required to do all those things. And sometimes I reluctantly went. Sometimes I graciously went. But I went because somebody told me. And I went because it was there and it was put forward, not really ever thinking about the infrastructure or the foundations upon which they were built. I have come to learn, I joined the board, I think it was 2015. I remember Maureen asking, why did you join the board? She asked all of the new regional presidents this question. And my answer, thinking I knew everything, was I want to see what's behind the curtain. I want to see the mystique behind all of this. Little did I know that there wasn't much behind the curtain, but really tired people who are constantly running and moving and shaking. And then you look at that, and then you look at this ribbon. Those people made this ribbon possible from those very beginnings. I did the math also. It was like, that's not 41 years. That couldn't be. So I counted backwards. For all the TRIO history that I've learned, I knew it was in the 70s that a lot of this did occur. And 1978 is a year particularly that's referenced a lot in these conversations. 1978 was the year that my mother passed away. And so I always thought about that when that particular year was mentioned. 1981, when COE came into existence and Maureen came into the fold formally, was the year I was in Head Start, on the Fort Apache Indian Reservation. Just learning the system that we just heard all about tonight. And that system told me that I'm not supposed to be here. That system said, as an American Indian, you know less than everybody else. You don't know what it is that we did for you. We let you live here. We did all this. It wasn't until I got to college that I realized that the very reservation I grew up on was the housing place of all the Apache tribes when we were shipped off to Fort Marion. They brought us all into that one area, into Fort Apache, Arizona, and shipped everyone off. I did not know that because they didn't tell us that. And they didn't tell us that because the truth brings power. And in those times, in those opportunities of learning and growth, it's because of this that I've learned my past. It's because of this that I've learned my future. I had no idea that one day this individual who lost his mother at 3 years old, who lost his father to alcoholism, and who lost his brother to suicide, would be testifying before Congress. And I mention all of that because in every single story I've been told, Maureen was central. She was doing all this work on the side, polishing Jesuses, not knowing those people that were being truly impacted by this work. And we continue to do this work because it has that much power. We continue to do that work because it breeds this truth that allows us to dare to be who we are. And it's Maureen that helped me to see that within myself. I was a scared regional president. And she said, I think you should join the board and do this. I'm like, yeah, no. But she spoke to me in ways that I remember being spoken to when I was a TRIO participant in Student Sport Services. I felt heard and I felt seen. And that is not something you often feel when you work in the spaces in higher education that we work in. That is not something you often feel when you are in those spaces in Congress, where now you're having to assert yourself for the basic rights. You don't feel seen and heard. I never did not feel seen and heard by Maureen. I always felt that. So I'm so, so grateful to be standing up here with this ribbon because of her and her work, as well as Dr. Mitchum and all the individuals that came forward to bring this organization together, to bring these people together, to create one heart and one community that we all know and love today. Thank you, Maureen, for all you have done. I do want to end with a presentation. If I can call my colleagues, Yosh Wagner and Don Blue Sky Hill. So, in the American Indian tradition, when you start a journey and when you end a journey, you must always pay respect. And so, what has always been traditionally given is a blanket or a robe to keep you warm on your next phase of your journey, whether it's beginning or whether it's ending. This blanket that will teach you to remember where you came from and who you are. In particular, this is a star quilt made from family and friends from the Siston-Wapton Reservation in South Dakota. And the star quilt carries special meaning to the Plains peoples in that the star always sees you, it always guides you, and will never leave you. Always follow that star to wherever it is that you need to go, and it'll always be there with you. So if you don't mind, Maureen, if you can come up.
I'll make it move. So if you can, we would like to invite the Lady of the Hour for a few remarks of her own.
Gwen has never introduced me to anyone without saying, don't believe a word that she says. She has a very bad memory. So I want to say Gwen's memory is even worse than mine. You know, so very few people have an opportunity to do work. Well, actually, let me say, my father said to me, I'm sending you to college so that you can do work that you enjoy. I've had an opportunity to spend all of my life doing work that I enjoy and being with people like yourselves that are people that I love to see and be with. And Jonathan McKinsey will say or tell you a story about how I was doing a workshop. Okay, you tell it, Jonathan.
Now you all know this is Sunday. So I don't know the Maureen that you all have been talking about, but we got to tell the truth on Sunday. The Maureen that I know is an awesome, fierce, fearless woman. She does not suffer fools long, and she will get you told in a millisecond. My very first leadership workshop was in a room like this, packed with people. And there was a gentleman who, Maureen asked a question, and she said, does anyone know the answer? And this gentleman raised his hand. She said, okay, stand up. He started talking. And in the middle of his speaking, Maureen stopped him and said, you see, this is a man that doesn't read. It's not that he can't read, it's just that he doesn't read. And she was making the point about the importance of understanding who you are and what you are, and understanding your power. And that programs are progress, but policy is power. And when you understand that, you become empowered. Since it's Sunday, Maureen, I'm gonna leave you with one more thing. I don't feel no waste time. Come on, give me a clap. I come too far from where I started from. Nobody told me that the road would be easy, and I don't believe you brought me this far to leave me.
So thank you for forgiving me some of those moments that you have had to forgive me for, and thank you very much for these years.
There's one more speaker. My name is Bob Hoyler. I have known Maureen slightly longer than all of you. I'm going to say something that she wanted to say but couldn't. Her life has been incredibly enriched by each and every one of you. Her life is about making the world better by making people find their dream. And you all have become individually and collectively the personification of the dreams that we all hold. And I hear from her all the time about, oh, I went and I talked to somebody and they had this great idea. She has thrived and grown and become the person she is because of you. She has become the person she is also because of her daughter Elena, who keeps her in. But the point of the matter is, this is her life in every way, shape, and form. And it makes her love life. It makes her feel as if she is doing that Catholic social worker stuff that she was taught to do. I'm going to add 2 stories and then I'm going to say goodnight. The first is that Gwen, you were right. When she was in grammar school, she was a sacristan and she had to polish all that stuff all the time. And the church we belonged to, my father was the person who raised the money to have this brand new church built. And it was a magnificent church, but it wasn't finished when it was opened. Half of the mosaic was absent, and so they covered it all with ferns. And my whole family spent the week before the church being opened cleaning the fricker. I mean, that's what we all did. We were out. My mother never got more angry than when my father gave the money that was supposed to go to the dining room set in our house to pay for the church. So all that stuff you said is absolutely true. My fondest memory of my sister as a child was the day she got arrested. She got arrested for sitting in at Marquette University. And right? And she didn't call our parents. Yeah, you tried, right. She called my uncle, who was the lawyer, to say, what am I supposed to do now? But my parents were extremely upset and proud of her at that very moment. And they've been exceptionally proud of her every day since then. I love you, kid.
Thank you all for joining us for this amazing evening. And I'm sad to say, I have to say that this is the end of the evening right now. But we have a great full-packed few days ahead of us to continue this good feeling. So thank you all. Have a wonderful night, and see you tomorrow morning.